Hello there, my name is Garrett and welcome to this short video on managing conflict in virtual classrooms. As the priming questions indicated, virtual classrooms are increasingly part of the education landscape today. We're seeing them become a huge part of all areas of education, from primary school, middle school, high school, into college classrooms, even the military. They offer amazing advantages and progress in global education and progressing other means, and drastically reduces other sorts of overhead costs traditionally associated with the old education model. But they offer new challenges as well as overlap with some of the traditional challenges that occur in normal classrooms. So today we're going to be looking at some of these very basic issues. Just as a quick piece, I brought up this course from Coursera called E-Learning and Digital Cultures from the University of Edinburgh, just as a jumping off point to indicate just how much of an issue this is becoming. So thinking about common issues or areas that create conflict in virtual classrooms, one of the biggest things is in how the nature of online communication. So the challenge with managing conflict in virtual classrooms is when we do communication online, usually it happens through a discussion forum, usually just text-based discussion. So we miss out on all those nonverbal cues, that humor, all that stuff that we normally have issues, say for instance, in a modern relationship where we're relying on texting or instant messaging versus face-to-face conversations or even audio conversations. We get what communication scholars call slippage. And so it's very easy to get frustrated or misunderstand what somebody's trying to say. It's a huge area where conflict can arise. So how do we prevent it? We need to be clear and straightforward in how we're communicating. We need to think about setting context with everything you're trying to do. Also think about adding more sophisticated levels of communication into your online course. Do collaborative sessions, do Skype sessions, do group things, do audio conversations, and not just forums. A big piece of this is also in the area of creating a community. This, I think, is just a huge source of conflict and disconnect, even alienation, or dropout, retention in virtual classrooms or even MOOCs. So how do we create that community? How do we create connections between each other, a sense of commitment, or even increasing collaboration on group projects? Well, we need to be accessible to students 24 to 48 hour response time. Teachers need to be plugged in and have their finger on the pulse of what's going on in the class. We should also have ground rules for communication, netiquette, talking about what is expected and what is not. A great thing here is also starting off the classroom with a introduction session, with a way of people getting to know each other so that they're not just talking to random people like it would be on an internet forum where we don't have any connection or sense of responsibility to each other. And it's very easy to get those stranger-like responses, those inhibitory responses. Another common issue in virtual classrooms is off-topic discussions. Not only do these make the classroom, learning in the classroom, the virtual classroom, less efficient, they also are a huge source of conflict. So how do we keep discussions on topic? We need to make sure that the purpose of the discussion is clearly established in the beginning. We need to model how to use forums. And we need to redirect, essentially facilitate and moderate the forums very, very quickly. Being absent for even 12 to 24 hours on a forum, you can come back and watch that some sort of apocalyptic event has happened and the whole thing's off topic, as we're about to demonstrate in a role play. Another issue is lazy comments. Students aren't really committed. They're not really using discussion channels to facilitate their learning on how we want them to do it. They're simply they're putting the minimal effort into it. We need to set rules within our rubrics and curriculum, into our syllabus rather, for what is communication. It shouldn't just be I agree, but list several points so that students are giving meaningful, constructive responses. Lastly, we'll talk about this disinhibition effect, where we talk to, as I mentioned earlier, when we interact with our peers in these virtual cultures, if we don't know them, we have less of a sense of commitment, or less of a sense of responsibility in acting polite to them. We can say what we want. We get that troll effect on the internet, even with our colleagues and peers. This I don't think is so much of an issue in professional MOOCs or online classes, like for instance Teach Now, but perhaps in high school or middle school especially. Research has indicated middle school students are especially incendiary in their virtual communication. So what do? Again, we make it so that students' names are attached to it. We do not want anonymity here. We want them to own their comments. We also can, as we indicated earlier, we also want to have team building. We want people to be connected. We want them to have a sense of sharedness as they begin the class. So starting off strong in these things really goes a long way. And thinking meta about these 5 sources of issues and solutions, essentially what we're trying to argue is that an ounce of prevention creates a ton of productivity later on. If we can start off right with high expectations and clear rules, and the right sort of team building and cultural elements, we can drastically reduce the amount of conflict that arises throughout the course. However, when conflict does arise, I will be looking at some of those issues and how to de-escalate those conflicts as we move on. But now let's go to a role play really quickly to give some narrative to some of these ideas.